How's it? Well, if you essentially hear, it pretty much means you want to know how I actually gained so much bloody mass in 100 days. Now, a lot of people, I assume, are automatically gonna think it's due to gear, which I can confidently say I was not on gear during these 100 days of transformation, essentially. Now, before I get into it, I'm gonna quickly just break down what the split was, and then I will, start showing the video of essentially the whole transformation. But we'll start off with what it actually was. So it was pretty much 8 workouts a week. In the space of 5 days. I didn't work out on Saturday and Sunday because, well, the gym wasn't open on Saturday and Sunday. So I, made a plan and made it work from Monday to Friday. I was also running twice a week. And, that was just my cardiovascular, and it was brilliant. And that was essentially it. I'll quickly go through and break down what everything was. Monday was morning. In the mornings I did chest, and afternoons I did legs, quad focused. Tuesdays was shoulders in the morning, and then back and biceps in the afternoon. Wednesdays was a run in the morning with a minimum of 5 kilometers, and then chest and triceps in the afternoon. Thursday was a run in the morning, again, minimum of 5 kilometers. And then in the afternoon, it was legs, hamstring focused. And then Friday in the morning was back. And then in the afternoon was a full arm day. Yeah, so at the beginning of the split, I actually weighed 83 kgs. And at the end, I weighed 95. So that's a 12 kg increase, which is pretty bloody drastic. Now, I'm not saying that's all, muscle. A lot of it is fat because I was eating a major calorie increase. I was eating 5,000 calories a day, which is like an enormous quantity, way more than I normally do eat. And, obviously you reap the rewards of the hard and the difficulty and whatever, the amount of effort you put into things. And so, first of all, before you get all the people thinking, well, that's an unrealistic, amount of work to put in throughout the week, and an unrealistic amount of exercise. So first of all, this was not a split that I created in order to gain muscle. Muscle mass was a side product, and obviously, you like muscle mass, but the idea behind it was to increase my mental strength and get me into a strict regimen. And ultimately it did. So that was the ideal goal. Obviously, if you want to strictly make muscle, I'm fully aware that this sort of thing is most likely gonna fully, work you, and you're kind of going to overwork yourself, which is not ideal for muscle growth. But ultimately, if you don't have a strict regimen and strict, mental toughness, you're not going to be able to do a muscle growth specific split and, do it well and do it to the best of your ability and toughness and etc. Yeah, I think you kind of get the point of this. It wasn't necessarily for muscle. Obviously, muscle is the thing people see though. So again, I wasn't on gear, swear. And the main fundamentals of this whole split was essentially, the 3 pillars of muscle growth: sleep, eat, train, right? So in terms of sleeping, I was making sure I was getting 8 hours of sleep every single night without fail. Obviously, some nights that wasn't possible, but you have to realize that sleep recovery is when you're resting, and that's so important, and you actually really just need to focus on, achieving that and making time and making sure all the things you do, are achieved within the daytime so you can actually get your recovery. Then obviously eat. I was eating 5,000 calories a day, which is a lot, you know. I'm a hard gainer, so I, need to eat so much in order for me to gain mass. And, at the same time, I can somehow maintain it without going into deficit. My body works weird, Everything is going to work differently for yourself, You have to figure out what works for you and make sure, it's not a copied formula from someone else. Like for instance, if you were to try replicate this whole split, obviously the fundamentals will be the same, but you have to adjust it to yourself. Because for someone who's not my height and not my, doesn't have my metabolism, my size, etc., 5,000 calories may be way too much or way too little. Who the hell knows? It's dependent on the person, not just a split, Then obviously the last and most important, at least in my mind, is training. And I really set out with this split is, mental toughening me, so I'm like ready to do things, make sure everything is correct. Like I only have so many hours in the day, I need to get everything done. And when you're working out and have that in your mind constantly, you're like, a big theme behind my workouts was actually pushing myself to failure and trying to find new failures. And it's evident in the results that when you actually push yourself way harder, you see like drastic results. You're never going to achieve something if you aren't willing to sacrifice, a little bit. And in this case, that little bit was discomfort in the moment. Now, a lot of people will say, I'm already going to failure, but you're not even breaking a sweat. You're not, on your last rep, you're still getting it up easy and racking. That's not failure. When you rack on your last set, on your last rep, you should be barely getting it up, feeling a like horrid burn. And, it's kind of, again, it's all within your head, and, toughening yourself mentally is definitely the best way to go about getting yourself to, push that extra mile in order to achieve whatever you're hoping to achieve. So my thoughts on the split, obviously a lot of people are going to say, well, that's all great and well, but I work and I don't have time to do this. So I'll put it into perspective. You always have time. I was going to college during this whole process. I was midway through exams and I didn't miss any of this. I was doing my workout in the morning, or my run. I was doing my workout in the evening, and during the day I was at college, and I still made time to do the workouts and as well as edit videos, which at the time I was like very new at and was taking an excessive amount of time. And the thing is, what are you willing to sacrifice in order to reach your version of success? Because I was willing to sacrifice pretty much, everything. I was, every second of my day I was working. There was no time for conventional fun, if you think of it like that. And what I realized through the process is your version and your, perception of fun is dependent on you. And I grew to realize that my perception of fun is gym, exercise. And I don't need to go out drinking and do whatever. Like obviously having a social life is important, but I don't need that in order to have the idea of fun. Now, that in mind, again, really it's up to you and your own mental ability to push yourself in order to achieve what you want, essentially. And I'm so happy with what I achieved. I thought it was a brilliant experiment. It pushed me, and I've come out with it so much stronger and so much more confident in my own willpower to achieve things. And I'll put it, this is like the end bit, and it's so vital and kind of cool in its own way, is by the end of the split, it had become just normal. It wasn't like a stress anymore. it wasn't difficult to keep it going. I'd become so efficient with my time and efficient in doing everything I needed to do within my day that I was able to start implementing new things, and it was brilliant. So, you know, and now that I've finished the split, obviously I've laid back on the quantity because now I want to focus on gaining muscle, and I've created a new split that I'm currently working on and am in the process of doing, and I'll, you know, update when the time comes and the split's finished. But even so, the drastic reduction in quantity of exercise and quantity of essentially being busy all day, it's left me almost a bit, you know, mellow and a bit uncomfortable with this amount of free time I have. And I think that's kind of a cool thing, is that this split literally trained me into pretty much realizing that all time is important, and now that I have free time and I'm not doing something, you know, valuable with that time, I feel like I'm wasting time. And that's brilliant, and I think that's probably the best thing that I gained out of this. And, you know, hopefully, you know, as I always say, you can take a little bit away from this and implement a smidgen into your life. And at the very least, there's a little bit of food for thought. However, don't take everything I say for fact, because I'm no genius, no doctor, no scientist. I am just some fella. And honestly, I'm very proud of this split, and I really hope people can, you know, imitate it in their own way and apply it to themselves in their own way in order to, you know, achieve a goal or an aspiration of their own. But yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. And you know, in a couple more months, I'm sure you'll see a similar video like this about a new split. Cheers.